Hey, everybody. Guess what? It's Wednesday again. Hey, it's
It's
Tina
Wednesday.
Frank here, Bonnie Violet, and welcome to Splintered Grace.
Good morning, everybody. Did you say it's Wednesday?
Did I say it's Wednesday? I
I
might
think
have said it's Wednesday because I never know what day of the week it is. So it's Monday.
it's
That's funny.
Monday. Either way, we're glad you all are here and can join us. I'm Bonnie
Even though we
Violet.
don't know the day of the week.
Right. I'm Bonnie Violet, a transgender drag queen, spiritual artist, chaplain person. And
Wow.
I'm glad that you're here.
Wow. Like, I want to see that on your title. How
I
many
know it kind of sort of is, but then I kind of got lost in what I was saying just then. So it didn't sound
when we start off like this, we can only go up, right?
right. There you go.
So I'm Tina Frank, and I'm usually a mature Christian woman enjoying my life, obviously. So welcome to you guys, and thanks for joining us, whatever day of the week it is. I think we're about ready to have a great conversation on purpose and passion.
Yes, definitely. And before we get into that, how was your weekend? What's been going on? After you wipe your eyes.
Oh my goodness, I'm laughing already so hard. This is awesome. Good belly laugh is good for the soul.
Yes.
I had a great weekend. Not much happening, which I'm very happy. Sometimes I just like to hang out, wander around my house, hang out in my yard with my cat and my honey, and just call it good. And that's kind of what we did this weekend. So
Nice.
it was nice.
You were saying you had some beautiful weather too.
Oh, we do. I'm in Arizona, and although it's a little bit warmer than I'd like, it's really cool in the morning. It's cool in the evenings, and our afternoons have been hitting the mid to upper 80s. And today they're saying it might even hit 90. So it's perfect.
Nice. Yeah. We had a beautiful weekend here in San Francisco too. We had I want to say maybe 60s. It felt like 70s or 80s, I think, just because it's not what we're used to. But everyone got out they were wearing the shorts and I was wearing the Daisy Dukes, and there was
awesome.
There was just legs for days. There was legs everywhere.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot more people, just out and about a little bit more. And so it's just kind of nice to see more people out. And I think the weather definitely kind of, pushed people out of it a little bit.
Absolutely. On that note, how are you guys doing over there with all your shutdowns and stuff? Our governor lifted all of the mandates off of our state. And so that has actually got people out and about, I think, a little more here.
Right. Good morning, Teresa. Yes, legs in San Francisco. We have been opening up a little bit more and more. You can eat in the restaurants a little bit. I think it's like maybe 25% or something like that. And I think it's going to go to 33% pretty soon. But I'm not really sure the process, but it just feels like things are getting a little bit open. Obviously, people are still wearing masks and there's social
absolutely.
A lot more people are getting vaccinated. So I think that's, people are
I think that's helping a lot. That we've had I think I know more people who are vaccinated than not. So I feel like that's all headed the right direction. So that's amazing. Praise God.
Yeah. Teresa's asking if you are related to Lisa Frank.
Well, I wish.
Right?
But no, not that I'm aware of. I am not.
Be so full of color, huh? And
wouldn't that be nice? I definitely didn't get any art talent if I am.
Right. Awesome. So
How was your weekend? What'd you do? Anything fun?
Yeah. I mean, I had we were talking earlier and I was like, it feels like so much has happened between the last time I talked with you.
Well, obviously it's Wednesday.
Oh, right. It's Wednesday already. Again. But yeah, I got to interview Pentecost on Wednesday, which was really great, which again feels like a while ago. Saturday is regular dance practice stuff. We're getting ready to do our girl group video shoot soon.
That's going to be so fun. You're going to post that on our Facebook page, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
One really cool thing I did yesterday, which I was really excited about, is there is it's called Queens of the Castro. It's a drag lab, they call it, but they're doing a residency where young people in the 6th to 12th grade can sign up to kind of do like a drag, like learn how to do drag. And so there's like a mentorship program, and I got accepted to be a mentor. And so
Oh,
I'll be a mentor through this year-long residency with
oh, for
young
a whole
people.
year?
Yeah, with young people learning about drag, about history, the activism, the culture, makeup, dance, performance, all that sort of stuff. So it's going to be really cool.
That
I'm really
sounds
excited
really
about it.
cool. Now, how often do you get to interact with these young folks?
So we'll have like we have to at a minimum meet with them twice a month. And then there's these workshops that happen every week. And so there's like a makeup workshop once a month. There's a movement workshop once a month. And then there's like a group in which all the mentors and all the mentees get together. And that's when it's more of like a class where we'll learn about like just different like issues. Like we'll learn how to be like with people different than ourselves, understand gender, understand like just the history of drag. So I think it's going to be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it'll be a learning experience for you and everyone that you get to participate with.
Yeah, it was just really cool to meet the other mentors as well. We meet our they're going to like match us with somebody this week, and then we'll meet them this week and then have our first kind of group on Saturday, which I'm
So
really
do you
excited.
have one mentee at a time?
Yeah, it's ideally going to be set up for there's only one mentee, but it really just kind of depend on if you're a good fit with someone, and then also like if they're depending on how many mentors there are versus how many mentees they are, because
Gotcha.
they're always they're going to be always taking in new people throughout the year, and so it'll be kind of a matching process throughout, kind of dependent upon who's participating or not.
Well, that
So
sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, I'm excited about it. For
Yeah,
sure.
that's cool. Cool. So you've had a fruitful week.
Yes.
Well, cool. It looks like we got a lot of
A lot
stuff
of
going on
comments.
this side. Yeah, a lot of comments. I
Yeah.
was doing glance at them real quick. So where do we start? Passion and purpose. I think these are things, as we were talking before, that both of us are still kind of developing within ourselves. Would you say that's the right word, developing in ourselves?
Yeah, or I mean, maybe recalibrating.
Oh,
Maybe?
recalibrate, I think is a better word. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like you and I both have probably been very like passion oriented and purpose oriented.
Yes.
And I think for me, I found myself more recently kind of like realizing that I really wasn't in my passion. I was doing purposeful work, I think. Well, I was doing purposeful work because I was working in anal cancer research, and I was helping, folks get connected to services and stuff. And so it definitely wonderful purpose, right?
Yeah.
But I had a really hard time having the passion for it. And I think that's because like, I think I listened to a bunch of things on passion and purpose to kind of like prepare for a conversation today. And one of the common themes is the idea is that passion is for you and purpose is for us or
Others,
for others. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. That's a great assessment of all that. I just remember what I forgot to do. Sorry.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a great assessment. And it's funny that you say that you've been, and for as long as I've known you, you've always been very intentional and very purposeful with how you spend your time, what you do, what kind of things you engage in. So that's true. But I had never realized that you had a moment where you had lost some passion for that. And go ahead. I'd like to hear more about what that looks like.
Yeah, I think for me, I got stuck in the mundane of it all. Like, I think for me, I love to grow. I love to expand. I just think I reached a point where, like, I really feel like I'm at a point where I want to, and I don't know if it's part of maturing or getting older, but I feel like I want to pass on what I've learned, on to onto like younger folks, but also like there's also more for me to learn and more to be challenged by. Like the work that I've been doing for over 20 years in some form or the other. And I could do it and I could be pretty good at it, but I just wasn't really excited about it anymore. And that it was really frustrating for me because I was like, this is good work. Like like I felt really blessed as like somebody who grew up where we grew up in the way that we did, to be working in one of the best research like facilities on the globe, and like to find myself there doing work, like really meaningful work, was really great. But then also to realize that I wasn't enjoying it was really, it was disappointing.
So what was one of the first steps that you took when you realized that you weren't passionate about that?
Well, I just tried to get honest with myself about it, and to try to kind of like investigate it a little bit more, kind of get curious as to why things were the way that they were. And it wasn't really clear for me that because I was doing work that was so purposeful, I felt like I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with lack of motivation. I was feeling a little isolated and depressed. And this was before shelter in place. But so I just was feeling like it was all these other things, and it couldn't have been work. Like it couldn't have been that I was dissatisfied with work. And it wasn't just work, but work was a big part of it, because it took me from my ability to do things that I could be more passionate about. Because I don't think your work always has to be what you're passionate about. Or do you? I mean,
I think it makes it easier if it is, because you can certainly, I think you find drive in all of that. But yeah, that's interesting, because I also was doing something that I loved, and I lost my passion for it. It wasn't as purposeful as yours was in that, but I was self-employed, and I had built, and I shouldn't say my husband and I had built a position where we could actually employ other people and give them an opportunity to have a great livelihood. And I was very passionate about that. The work that we did was work. It wasn't as driven. I want to say it wasn't purposeful, because it was purposeful. It was just a different kind of a purpose. And it was wonderful. I loved it. We actually thrived in that space for, a number of years. And then all of a sudden, it was like, I don't enjoy this anymore. I don't look forward to it anymore. It became more like work. And for me, at first I was like, it must be me. I must be doing something. It must be something. I'm just getting lazy, bored, whatever. I was looking at myself. What is it about me? Because it seemed like on the surface that everything was working. Everything looked fine. People were still doing what they were doing. And I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. And I just liked it less and less and less and less. And I could not say, well, someone was mean to me. I couldn't say I had a supervisor that didn't like me. I couldn't say my clients were ridiculous, because they're always ridiculous. Just had to throw that in. So I just couldn't figure it out. But what had happened was, I think that I had an innate change. I think part of it was because I didn't have a challenge anymore. And I'm definitely someone who likes to step into a challenge and to meet goals. But I think I realized that, okay, I've been able to build this to this point, but now I want to define, and I want my life to have a meaning. Just like you were just saying, you want it to have a purpose. You want to have something that you can hand down. Now you can say you can hand down a company, but my kids aren't passionate about that. They've all got careers of their own. They're doing this and that. There were not people within the organization that wanted to run it and do, so I didn't feel like that there was passion. But when I look back, I can see the skill sets that I've learned in that process. And I don't know if you've done that also. Working in those organizations, dealing with different kinds of people, understanding different kinds of processes. I feel like it's kind of positioned me now that things have shifted and I'm no longer running a business. I have all those skill sets to bring to the table now to go on to that next thing, which I'm very excited about. So would you Yeah. Would you say that was a
Yeah.
similar experience for you? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, for me, is the biggest challenge, is being able to really like make sure. And some of the things I was hearing about passion, someone had mentioned the idea that passion is basically what gives you energy. What is it that you can do that gives you energy? And that was something that I was really struggling to have and had for a really long time. And I was able to, during shelter in place, I was able to kind of like start to do some of the, like I started to do the Dragon Spirituality series with Glide. And as like miserable and unhappy I was to do like my job work, like whenever I like did that work, I just felt so much better about it afterwards. Like it felt good afterwards.
Yeah.
So it made me more willing to do it. Whereas the work I was doing before, I wasn't feeling good afterwards. And the more I looked at it too, is I felt like I was taking up space that maybe somebody that was more excited to be in it could actually maybe even do better than I could do, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that was another kind of like, if I want to look at purpose and not just what feels good, I could recognize that I'm actually maybe not even living to my fullest potential with my purpose, because I'm like in this space that doesn't really like sing to me anymore. And there are other folks that I know, if they were in that position, they could sing the way that I used to sing at it, you know, and I just don't anymore. And so it's been good to kind of have an opportunity to transition. I think shelter in place made me think about what I was settling for, and why I was settling, and like why not do those things that you've been wanting to do now? Like, what are you waiting for? When is it going to really open up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it. I had a similar experience. And for me, I felt like I was trying to continue moving forward, even though I wasn't passionate about it, didn't enjoy it at all. And I wasn't very effective at it. So things started to shift. And so I think you're right. Being able to step away and allow someone else an opportunity, I think that kudos. I think that's an awesome, responsible decision that you made, for not only for you, but for that person or the people that you're receiving services from you.
Yeah.
So I was being a little, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what my purpose was exactly, or actually, I shouldn't say that. I didn't want to admit it, because then I would admit that I had kind of been sidelining it for a while. So I felt like this whole process with COVID for me, it just shut overnight. Boom. All right, you're done. And I was like, oh, wait a second, what just happened? And that first moment of, oh my gosh, now what?
Right.
I'm grateful it didn't last for very long, because I'm like, okay, I can do this. But you know, I started a business, I can do this. But then I had to think about, and for me, this shelter in place has been a process also of, okay, redefining what's important to me. Where am I at this season of my life? Because it's different than 10, 15 years ago. What really at this stage in my life am I passionate about? You know, you heard about all those horrible things during COVID, people losing their lives and losing loved ones. And I'm thinking, you know what, I need to decide what's important to me right now. And I need to start making some decisions about how I want to live the rest of my life. Yeah. And I've made some tough but good decisions. Not everyone has enjoyed those decisions, but I'm okay about it. And so now I'm redefining my purpose based on this new passion that I feel for the life that I have ahead of me. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes total sense.
So I'm excited about it.
Stevie's saying hi.
Hey,
hi,
Stevie.
Frank. Love your podcast. Thanks for joining us today. Isaac is sending a heart.
Hi, Isaac.
Isaac, Miss Pentecost.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Love that you're joining us, Isaac. I think one of the things, it's like passion versus purpose, or does your purpose have to be your passion? And I think it's great if your passion could be your purpose. And I think, and your income, I guess, because we live in this capitalistic world, right? That we need to have an income. But I don't necessarily think that passion and the purpose maybe has to happen in the same place, but I do think it's probably important to have both happening at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes it easier if it's a singular focus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think people can be passionate about things in the middle of their circumstances.
Right.
We've all experienced that. So yeah, I think there's definitely, and I think it was great the way you had defined it before, that passion is more about you and purpose is
Mm-hmm.
more about the people around you. Because I don't know, as I get older, I want to be more purpose driven,
Mm-hmm.
I think, than passion driven. And as I've had this time to think about it and regroup and figure out kind of what I want to be when I grow up, I want to be more purposeful. So
Yeah.
that's something I've always really envied in you, is that you always seem to have something purposeful in your life that you are pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of that is, as I go back and forth with this, is like I um I I do it because it feels good. Um I think I'm still, it doesn't always feel good, don't get me wrong, but I think I like the effect that it has on myself. I don't know. I mean, there has been unhealthy, like, I think you can try so hard to be doing good, or like for instance, I was in that job that looked all good. It looked like I was there for the purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't as much as, I could have been, I guess. And so I think those are the things that I have to kind of look at, because if I'm really honest with you, a lot of what drove my helping, my being of service in community, especially in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
was I needed to, I didn't feel worthy, and I felt less than, and somehow I had to earn some sort of value or worth in order to be more equal to people, I guess. And I think I'd always kind of felt that way growing up the way that I did. But I know that after my HIV diagnosis and getting diagnosed with HIV, I had felt like I was still going to excel regardless of where I came from, right? And like I was still like I was going to get ready to go to school to be an architect, and everyone told me, and I was just going to go on and do great and amazing things. And then this thing happened where I got HIV, and I felt so responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in some ways I feel like I still had to make up for it. Like I first started doing HIV/AIDS work, I think, and telling people about my story, and starting Alpha, the nonprofit
Yeah.
organization, was really
Yeah.
a lot about me trying to validate my existence so that I could die and matter and have mattered. Because doing something with my life had been such a big, like, paramount part of my identity and what I
Yeah.
was going to do. And the idea that I was going to lose it felt like I was failing everyone. I felt like I was failing God too, because I'd always
Mm-hmm.
felt that God placed it on my heart to do some pretty rad things with my life. And so at first it was really about to try to seek the validation and to try to make my life worth a shit so that I could die, even though I had totally like messed it up. Luckily, through that process, I was afforded grace, and
Praise God.
people loved me, and I got to a space in which, for the most part, I don't feel like I need to be validated or affirmed, or that I need to earn some sort of value or worth in order to be in space with people that I want to be in.
You're right. You're right. And we all need to come to that realization.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an
That's
incredible story. Incredible testimony. That's an incredible testimony.
Well, and I've realized that even like, I think even in my last job, there was still that little bit of, oh, you're getting, when I talked about the description of where I was working. And I think to some degree, I almost reached that level where I was like, yeah, so like, I'm like this poor, like, high school graduate who's working at this top ranked, research. It's like I showed you all, you know,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
it was like, kind of like I did it. And then it was like, okay,
Now
now
what?
what? Like, and you don't even want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just kind of like one of those things that I didn't realize what had actually been driving me. And it
Right.
was that unworthiness, that less thanness, that whatever. I've ran away from my potential, even though it hasn't
Mhm.
looked like it. I've ran away from my potential most of my life because I've been
Yeah.
scared shitless of it. It
Yeah.
was just like, I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. And I'm coming into realizing that I
That's exactly
am,
right. Yes, you
and I
are.
and I need to, and it's not about bigness. And I
Right.
feel like that's sometimes what we want to label it on. It's like, I might be in the position of influence and I might be in a position of like whatever at some point, but it's not the celebrity, it's not the fame, it's not the being known.
Right.
That's just where I was created to be, you
Yeah.
know? And I feel
Yeah.
like that's where I had to get into a space to where I could realize that I'm just gonna go and be where I'm created to be. And whether that's in front of 1,000 people talking about shit, or that's like doing service work on the street, or that's I don't know, and that's just all I have to do is really try to continue being with me so that I can show up in whatever place I'm called to be in without saying no because I'm scared,
Right.
or not putting myself out there because I don't think I'm worthy, or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think everything that you just said, I think we all struggle with. And if we're not struggling with it now, we've struggled with it in our past.
I agree.
And you're right. It steals from us. It lies to us, and it keeps us from moving and finding that place of peace.
Mm-hmm.
That place where we can be, where we can love on people, where we can allow people to be who they are. I feel like we struggle with allowing people to be who they are because they're not comfortable with who we are.
Yep.
And so when we get into that comparison place, that's when we are all uncomfortable. And so rather than us just being uncomfortable, I find that we just tend to lash out to other people to make ourselves feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's something I've really been kind of like trying to understand, because I feel like we live in a time in which a lot of people feel like they need to tell you
Yeah.
how to be and how not to be,
Yeah.
and what it means to be like a good citizen or a good Christian
Yeah.
or a like whatever good human.
Yeah.
And there's like this need to like, I don't know. It's interesting, this thing that's happening, because, and one of the things that I've really been struggling with in some of like the, like, and maybe you can answer this a little bit better, but I was curious about the idea of like, because I think like Jesus in particular, a lot of
Mhm.
Jesus's message was he was criticizing the Pharisees. He was criticizing, I guess, the Christians. Would that be the correct? Or
No,
how would you frame that?
he was criticizing the church.
Okay, well, got you.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a difference.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
So then, because I feel like there's a lot of like Christians attacking Christians, as in part of like people attacking people instead of like people attacking the church, if you will, or criticizing the church. Do you feel like that's what should be happening more, is that people should be challenging the church versus challenging individuals? Or how does that work?
Well, you got to define the church, because the Word of God says that we are the church. So I'm the church, you're the church, we're the church,
Okay.
because we're the
Mm-hmm.
actual physical expression of who the church is. The challenge is that the differentiation is the legalism versus grace. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what Jesus was combating, is the legalism of the church versus the grace, which is what he died for us all to have.
Mm-hmm.
So when he had a conversation with the Pharisee, it was because he was fulfilling the law that they were trying to live by. An example was one of the Pharisees was making a excuse as to why he couldn't take care of his elderly parents because he was giving money to the church.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus said, no, 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 no. That's not how that works.
Right.
You need to take care of your elderly parents. and still be able to give something to the church, and not in lieu of, and maybe it's not as much, but in lieu of. So what his main thing through the Old New Testament was that he wanted to reveal himself to people as a miracle working God, which he is, in a way where people can come into their own, where they can fulfill their purpose and rest in him. So the church was not allowing that. There were too many rules, too many guidelines. So Jesus came to fulfill the law, but the church sometimes just wants to uphold the law. And that's where I think there's a problem. But here's the thing. It's not up to you to judge me. It's not up to me to judge you. It's up to us to love one another, to be in relationship with one another, and to give one another room enough to have our own experience with God.
Right.
Because my experience is different than your experience, because God created us uniquely for this little space in the world that he carved out for us already. You know, he ordered our steps. And so if I spent all my time trying to tell you what to do, how to act, what color your hair needs to be, and that I don't like your shirt, then what time am I spending doing the things that God would have me do?
Right.
So yeah, I'm praying that with all the stuff that's happening, that people are having a reality check like you and I have, or at least taking some time to consider where I'm at, what I'm doing, what's really important. Right. And finding that place where they can, one, restore relationships that they've lost, especially if they're family relationships, and two, figure out who they are in Christ. What do we really believe? You know, what do we really believe? I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, and they don't believe in God, and that's all right. But I asked them, so what's your life for then? What happens next? Why do you think we were created or born? Because for me, without that understanding of who God is, I feel like there's nothing. And I don't want to just exist. You know, I want to live my life. I want it to be purposeful. I want it to edify the people around me, and I want to be able to show my kids and my grandkids how to edify those that are around them. Because to me, just like I think you just described, that's when we're truly fulfilled. Is when we are serving the people around us. You know, I don't like sitting in my house all by myself. I don't like myself sometimes. I would much rather be outside with my neighbor having some iced tea, telling them they look fabulous and I love their garden.
Right.
It's a huge difference. But if I'm out there telling them, oh, those flowers look stupid, you should have put blue ones in. I don't know why you put that. The cat's going to eat that and get sick in your house. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But so I don't know. I just want to move forward and redefine where I'm headed based on the purpose I feel that God's put in my heart.
And Land O'Lakes stated, or legality versus loyalty. So I think that's like kind of the idea, like you can kind of like go by the book, so to speak, but are you loyal to, I guess, the legalities, I guess, or the people who are, I don't know, like, you know, are the people who are telling you their interpretation or what, you know what I mean? Like, and I think you've talked about it a lot. It's like, I think a lot of it is we're called to find out what is true for us and what brings us closer to God, and what brings me closer might not be what brings you closer, or, you know what I mean? Right. That there is a little bit more like personal nuance when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
Teresa was asking, how do you solve a problem like Maria? What's that question? I'm not sure what that refers to. Do you?
I'm not sure either.
Well, maybe Teresa can clarify that for us a little bit. We'd love to speak on it. But yeah, I guess, how do you, I feel like there are a lot, and this is, I think, and I know that this is not the type of Christian, but I know that you were talking about, or before, when we first started this podcast, you mentioned seeing like the people saying like God hates gay people, and, you know, and like, and protesting in that way. And you're like saying, well, that's not, you know, like, that's not what you believe. That's not where you're at. How there are a lot of people that are that way though. And seem to be, and maybe it's just because of the work that I'm doing now, or where I'm at, but I'm hearing and seeing a lot more of that, like very bold, very kind of filter, like just not good ways. And how, I know that that's not the way you are. How does that, I guess, how does that impact you, I guess, as somebody who identifies as being a Christian?
It grieves my spirit. It makes me really sad. It's like we all have representatives of our categories that we live in, or in this case, my identity, that are far right or far left. And unfortunately, people put us all in the same category because of these extreme circumstances. But every time I see those folks on the news doing things like that, or at funerals of servicemen, I think that group does that as well. It just grieves my heart. That is not what the Word of God says. And that's a good example of pulling a scripture out of context, maybe even a legalistic scripture out of context, and just trying to make everyone fit in that round hole. And that's not what it's meant to be. That's not what it's meant to be. That's like saying we're all created to be preachers. So every preacher has to look like this, dress like this, have the same color hair as this, wear this suit, this tie has to look like that. It's not like that.
Right.
Not like that. And as long as we continue to do that, one, people are going to rebel, as we should. And two, these people that are actually trying to do it, they're missing the whole purpose for that God created them for. And what's sad is it goes down from generation to generation until someone can break out of that mold. And it's really, it's heartbreaking for me. Yeah.
Landa Lakes is clarifying, how do you solve a problem like Maria is a Sound of Music quote, which I want to say I'm a bad queer. I don't know that. I haven't watched Sound of Music, which is like, it's a very common musical that people are very aware of and
reference. It's been a long time since I watched it.
Have you seen that?
I have seen it a couple of times, but it's been a long time since I watched it.
I'll have to put it on my list of shows to watch again. Or to watch. I feel like I don't even recall ever watching it, but I'm a horrible like movie recall person. I am just not good at recall unless I like absolutely like really, really love something and watch it over and over. I just don't fall into the references.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah. There's a question. How does tech support drag and trans? And how do we do more? How does tech support with what we're doing, and what could we do more? I think for us, it's allowed us to, I don't know, we're in 2 different states.
Yeah.
Like, it's really allowed us to, I think, deepen our relationship.
Yeah. Together, as well as help us define who we are as individuals, I think, because our relationship together, I think, challenges both of us in some of the things that we've just taken for granted.
For sure. Isaac says, I believe that the bolder our voices are, the bolder the voices of opposition become. I've heard you say that to me a lot. I think it's a different words, but I think it's like when you say I think you use the language like the devil or what is it, like, you know what I'm trying to say? You say it.
Yeah. I always remind myself that I don't battle against flesh and blood, but spirits and principalities of the air. So when my voice gets stronger in love and grace and mercy, the voice of the enemy, however he might want to use it, to say that's not correct or to drown that out, gets louder and louder and louder.
Yeah, it seems like the more hate, the more criticism that comes at you, it's probably, like, I think that's what Isaac is saying. It's like the bolder our voices, the more we put it out there. I think with clarity and focus, the more people want to like chip at it and pick at it. There's a wonderful, like, I think one of the best music videos came out this weekend, which I love, but I know a lot of people are going to freak out about it. And I love all the things. I just love that it takes it there, Lil Nas came out with a song called Montero, which is Call Me By Your Name. And basically he kind of take that, he's like an openly gay Black rapper. And he did that song, Old Town Old Town Road, like the country song that,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think you know that, right? So he did this song, and as a Black queer artist, people are always telling him he's going to hell. He's bad for the children, or, things like that. And in this particular like video, he basically is like, it's very much in the same way, like Jesus is like, what did you call me? Like, what do you call me? And so the thing is, call me by your name. So it's like, you call me these things, so I'll show you what these things look like. Like, I'll be these things. And so there's like, he's like in the Garden of Eden in the beginning. He gets stoned. I don't want to like, but it has like a lot of religious connotations, and a lot of like, I just felt like a lot of just kind of like, okay, fine, this is who you say I am. This is who I say. Like, I'm going to show
So
you
this
that.
is his response to the negativity that the church is throwing at him.
And not necessarily the church, but how people are about things. And so it's kind of his way of, I think it's his way of also like, it has to do with him. There's a lot of really great reactions and stuff, and there's probably so much you could take from it, but it is kind of him being able to claim his sexuality, his identity, and all the intersections, and not hide it, and to put it out there. But a lot of people say that he's like gonna go to hell and it's evil and the devil, and so he just kind of went there, like he lap dances with the devil as like a way to be like, this is what you say I am. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I just think it's really powerful to kind of like put those things into action in the way that people are saying, and really be like, is that really? And if you do think that, then I'm going to do it right, so to speak. It's interesting. I think you have to, I think a lot of people will watch it and like, but I was like so in love with it in every way, every which way. One, I think just seeing openly, like, it was beautifully done. It was well done. It was great music. It's a great song. But I just felt like he just kind of put it out there for the world to just question and really think about and ponder some things. So, and I don't think I can even speak to it as well as, but
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
That'll be an interesting conversation for us sometime. I'm sure.
Yeah. I know we'd play it on here, but they always shut us down whenever we
play someone else's music. Yeah.
When we did the reaction video before. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I think it's like, because I think some people might not be happy about, say, some pop culture music. They might think that it's too sexualized and it's too like whatever. So I think folks who don't like that will also probably not like this, because I think, to be honest, it's pretty much this. I think it's kind of within the same vein of things, and I think in a lot of the same reasons why other pop artists have used sex, and they've talked about religion. I mean, if you look at Madonna and Lady Gaga, all of those artists at some point in time have had some sort of critique on. I don't know if it's critique, but religion has impacted their art in some way or another. And I think this was just, he happens to be a Black queer artist who's in the mainstream, and he's doing the same thing. And I just don't think people are used to seeing gay men in particular, hypersexualized and even more femme in a way, that I think is really powerful for him to kind of just claim that for himself, like to just claim and own that and be in control of it, basically, versus, do you know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you mean. And I thank you for clarifying, because I'm going to step back one more, just clarification, because we were talking a little bit about the church, and I apologize because I categorized us just that we're saying we shouldn't do. But just because I say I'm a Christian doesn't mean I'm part of the church.
Right.
There's a lot of people that say that they're Christian that really have not given their lives to Jesus. Some Christians have been raised in the church but haven't had an experience with God themselves. And so they take that on. And so they won't not experience the grace. So they only understand the legalism. And so then they're caught in the tradition and the rules of it. And they have a hard time giving grace because they've not experienced it themselves. And one more clarification, if you don't mind, is you're right. Religion has nothing to do with the church.
Mm.
Religion isn't an organization. Is an organization. The Christian church is about relationship. And so when we try to, if I try to walk in religion, you know that you would ask me what was wrong with me, because that's not who I am. It's about relationship. But people who have been deceived, or just say that they're Christian because it's the thing to say, because I believe in God, they're going to get caught up in religion. Most people who've had a bad experience at a church, it's because it's been a religious experience that they've had at the church. So just a few clarifications. We can talk about that another time, but I just appreciate it because you kind of touched on all those things and made those separations automatically in your conversation. I appreciate that. I feel like you can understand me better than when we first started talking. So anyway, I'm just thank you for that. And I'm just clarifying for the folks out there that might be listening so they can understand the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
And I don't want people thinking, Tina said some bad stuff about the church. That's not what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the hard balance, because I think even it's like, I want to let people have their, like, get your life, like have your own experience. And if like your sexuality does not have a space for your, like, for queerness or for like whatever, then like keep that for yourself. Don't have that in your world. But why do you have to like put that on other people, I guess, is kind of like that whole. And then I think when you have to put, or you feel like you have to put something on somebody else, like you just feel like there's something else going on there. And that's something to look at more so than like, I don't know. And that's something I'm really wrestling with, to be honest with you, is that balance of,
It's hard. I wrestle with it too. And not just on this issue, on lots of different issues. You know, we're so want people to think the way that we think, that we can't give people the ability, or it's hard for us to give people the ability to make up their own mind. You know, I get it. I catch myself do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, who cares if you like meatballs or not? You know, just because I love meatballs doesn't mean you have to love meatballs.
Right,
but I find myself trying to explain, why don't you love meatballs? How can you not love meatballs? You know, whatever it is. And I just think it's something, and that's just a trivial thing, I know, but politics is the same, education is the same, healthcare is the same, all these things, church, religion, all these things. We want everyone to be like-minded. My whole purpose, although I get it wrong, not purpose, idea maybe is even better, or understanding maybe even better, is to do the best I can to understand the things around me, the things that I'm putting into my life, and allow people the opportunity to build their own understanding. But willing to share my opinions, but not insist that because I've shared my opinion that you have to agree with me, or that you have to walk in the same opinion that I have.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard. And then I'm sure you're experiencing also, you get people from all sects of life that disagree with you, or think that you should have made that person agree with you, and you didn't. Right. And so now they've got opinions about all that. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
It's just so interesting. It's just, I think the thing is, like, when you have, I guess, the passion or that like drive to say something, you know, like I watched one of the things I really loved was actually watching reaction videos to this video. And
did they have some out there?
Yeah, there's a lot. And I was watching a lot of different reactions, and people didn't necessarily know what they were going to see. And I think a lot of people saw things that they never seen before. And it also just went a lot of places. And so you saw a lot of people's, I think, just natural reaction to some things. And there was these two guys that I watched in particular that I am assuming they were heterosexual men. They were definitely very like shocked by what they were seeing. And they were like, were like maybe uncomfortable, but they weren't rude. They weren't offensive. They weren't like mean or even said it was wrong, or they were just like, oh, okay. You know, like, why can't we, like, why do we feel like we have to like come at people so hard? But then the thing of it is, it's just like the things that matter to to people is different. And when something matters to you, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's something I'm definitely really trying to meditate on and pray on. And and just, I'm actually wanting to find something in the Bible even to kind of support on how do we be better with one another? How do we not, push I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the Bible on all that stuff.
There's I think a lot of the things that people decide they want to have a decision on or disagree on, it's not any of their business.
You're right. You're right. We have opinions about stuff. I have a friend. I just love her. I get to spend a lot of time with her, and she shares these beautiful stories, but she always has an opinion, and she knows about what they should do and what they shouldn't do, and I don't know why they don't do that. And I'm just like, oh, honey, it's really nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the whole conversation is sharing the story is fine. Sharing her opinion about the story is fine,
right.
but not understanding why they're not doing this, that, or the other, and if she should tell them that and this and that. I'm like, oh, honey, you just need to let that rest.
Yeah. Well, I can get caught into it myself too, because there are things that I feel like I've come to know or understand that I feel like maybe other people don't, and like I can be like, yeah, but you don't see it right, or there's more to it, or so it's just like an interesting, I think, kind of I don't know. I think it's something that I think I need to remember to turn more inward. When
it's
I have
that's hard.
Mm-hmm. And then I think choose to have those conversations with people that you can have it with. I like you and I, when we talked about, I think when we talked about race last week in particular, it kind of just came up, and there was a part of me that felt like I needed to tell you something, but I didn't really necessarily need to, but we could still have that conversation, and I could share that with you, and you could share where you were at. And it was a good conversation that I think we could have, but it might not have been so great in other situations. And it wasn't even really about me trying to tell you that, this is the right way, this is the wrong way necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't about that. But I think it can come out that way when we're having those conversations with people who are just out there, if that makes sense.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I try to only give my opinion if someone asks. I'm really getting better. It's not been an easy journey, because I've been one of those people that'll just blurt out whatever it is. Don't care if you ask or not, but here's my opinion. So I've been really trying to be careful about only sharing when someone asks for my opinion. And when I share, just let them know, this is my opinion. This is why I feel this way. And, if you want to talk more about it, I'm happy to. But if you don't, it's fine, because I don't want to be pushy. So anyway.
Yeah. I know we kind of got off on, or got a little beyond passion and purpose maybe, but
yeah, we did.
Charlie Brown says, just do it, be the best you can be, show your love, and keep your glass half full at all times.
Great wisdom, Charlie. Good to see you.
Yeah. You know Charlie?
I do know Charlie.
Nice.
Charlie's awesome.
Yeah. I like the half full. I don't know that I've ever heard that before, like to keep it half full. Is that just a more balanced space with things?
Maybe. Charlie, you want to clarify?
A space in which you can take on more?
You can always take on more. Yeah, that's how I was thinking, or grow.
No. Yeah, it feels like a neutral place. It's not half it's not half what?
Half empty or half full?
Or half full. Yeah, so half full is, I guess, the better side of it.
Yeah. I've always thought that I wanted to be overflowing, but I think all that's good as long as you're overflowing with the right kinds of things. If you're overflowing with love and kindness and mercy and grace, and not overflowing with hate and disgust and anger and intolerance, those are things we don't want to overflow.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. Like, do we need to be overfull with anything though?
Oh, I don't know. I think I like to be
overfull. Leftovers, right? Is that what we give to others? I don't know.
I I feel like maybe I understand the half full because I want to have room for other people's
Mhm.
ideas, other people's opinions. I totally get that. I totally agree with that. I think there
Mhm.
are areas in my life like I am a joyful person. I want to be overflowing. I love
Mhm.
it when people say to me, "I can tell when you come in here because the whole room lifts."
Mhm.
I feel like that's a positive because I'm not coming in with anger and frustration and whatnot. I'm coming into a space, trying to edify people, trying to help them to, I don't know, just feel good about the moment. Sometimes
Mhm.
we carry in lots of baggage into situations. Having a bad day. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I had a fight with someone. Someone passed away. Who knows? And you're in this space for whatever reason you need to be in this space. And
Mhm.
if I'm in that space, I just want to be a lifting, a lifting. It's not going to fix whatever you're dealing with, but maybe for the moment, you can
Right.
smile or laugh or whatever. So in that, I mean, overflowing, kind of
Yeah,
overflowing.
yeah. I feel that. We are like running out of time
Are we
because
really? Oh
she
my
don't
goodness.
want to. We have like 3 or 4 minutes. But
Okay. Didn't
no
mean to talk
problem.
so much. Sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I just wanted to let folks know though that Tina and I have been invited to be guests on a radio show out of Chicago. And it's a show on forgiveness. So Bob Kaiser has a radio show with WGHZ. I'll put all the information in the description. So if you want to join us and listen in, call in during our conversation, that would be great. We'll be going live at noon Central Standard Time. That's 10 a.m. over in the Pacific time zone. And Bob will be interviewing and talking with us about forgiveness, and we'll share what our experience has been with each other, and also separately, and just, I don't know, whatever it is Bob wants to talk with us about.
There you go.
But he's doing a whole series on forgiveness. So also if folks are kind of at that space of looking at forgiveness or curious about forgiveness or on the other side of it even, he has a really great series that you'd love to check out. He's had therapists and spiritual leaders, and he's shared a lot of his own story as well. So I think it's really powerful, and I'm really excited that we get to be a part of the series. And so again, we'll put all that information in the description so that you can check us out this weekend. Otherwise, we will see you next week on Monday.
I'm never going
On
to let
Monday,
that
not
happen.
Wednesday. It'll be Monday. We'll call it Wednesday, but
Okay.
it's Monday. Yes, and thank you for watching us either on YouTube, listening to us on a podcast, wherever you listen to a podcast at Splintered Grace. If you'd like to see other episodes or anything like that, again, look in the description. If you would like to support the work of the podcast as well as the work of a queer chaplain, feel free to join our Patreon, in which you can help contribute monthly with a small amount of money, like $3, but it adds up and it's super, super helpful in helping us continue to do the work of a queer chaplain and Splintered Grace podcast. I think, is that all? I had to get all that out at some point.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Do you want to say goodbye and take us out?
Oh, you can trust me? It's
I
Wednesdays
trust
now.
you so much.
You guys, thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful Monday, and we look forward to having another conversation with you next week. Blessings.
All right. Bye-bye. Splintered Grace podcast is brought to you by a queer chaplain. Follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at a queer chaplain. Listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Feel free to tip us at Venmo, Bonnie Violet, and support monthly on Patreon. The song is original by Steven Sandnoff, The Chasm Between Us. Rest in peace, Steven.